Welcome everybody to the Technology Solutions for Produce Traceability webinar, part 2 of our traceability seminar series. My name is Michelle Broom. I'm the president of the Ontario Produce Marketing Association. Today, we have 4 representatives from some of the top providers of technology solutions for traceability in the produce industry. Charles Waud, president at WaudWare Incorporated. Mike Anderson, Vice President of Sales Solutions at iTrade Network. Shubh Singh, Business Development at Accu-Label International. And Minos Athanassiadis, I'm not sure I got that correct, Vice President of Supply Chain at iFoodDS. So each of these representatives will have about 5 minutes to speak to us about the services that their organisation provides. And the idea being that our members have said to us they're really interested in technology solutions and what's out there. So we thought this would be a great opportunity for you to get a snapshot of 4 different top providers quickly and easily. We will then have all 4 of those people join us for a quick question and answer series. So if you do have any questions, please type them into the question bar, top right hand corner of your screen, and we will get to those at the end of the session. So I would like to invite Charles, who's on screen now from WaudWare, to kick off for us with his presentation. Thanks, Charles.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Charles Waud, and I'm with WaudWare. We sell and support the Produce Inventory Control System, or PICS for short. We've been working in the produce industry for over 30 years and have customers across Canada, in the USA, Mexico, and the Netherlands. I'm a past director at the OPMA and a current member of the PTI Produce Traceability Technology Working Committee. Achieving traceability is a delicate balance. On one hand, produce businesses are now required to provide traceability on the items they purchase or grow and sell. On the other hand, they need to minimize the financial impact that traceability has on their business. Produce businesses are challenged by having to deal with fast-moving, low-profit items. Therefore, it can be a real challenge to track what came in and what went out while still making a profit. In the next few minutes, I'm going to talk about 3 different approaches that we've seen. We've observed that well-organized small produce companies with just a few items were able to manage traceability by doing 2 things: labeling products as they are harvested or arrive with a date code or a PO number, and making note of which lots were sent out on which sales orders. However, with the new requirements for harmonized PTI stickers, this is no longer an option. Produce companies will now need to label items with the new harmonized PTI labels. A computer, a printer, and software like you were hearing about in today's presentation is needed for this. It might be sufficient for your business to achieve traceability requirements by performing the following 2 steps. Record the necessary information when the product is received or harvested, and then immediately print and apply the labels. Secondly, record the lot codes which were shipped on the sales orders. If a customer calls with a problem, you can look back at the sales orders, see which lot codes where the lot code where the product originated. This will allow you to notify the vendor or grower of the issue. The difficulty with a basic system like this is that you can't easily see everybody that the product was shipped to. In our opinion, the best way to implement traceability would be to have an inventory system which also produces PTI labels and provides fast and easy traceability lookups. In that system, when you receive or harvest the produce, it makes sense to record the necessary information, such as the vendor, PO number, or grow area, and then immediately print and apply the labels. This is why in our PICS software, producing PTI labels is a byproduct of the receiving or harvesting packing process. When you ship the product, since you would be updating your inventory system to record the decrease in inventory, we believe that telling it which lots were shipped makes sense. The bonus here is that you are doing the second step, that while doing the second step, you are doing traceability requirements at the same time. In this way, if a customer calls with a problem, you could easily look up the sales order, see the lot code which had where the product originated and who else the product was shipped to. Then you can notify other customers, the vendor, and or the grower. If you pack or repack, the complexity increases because you need to keep track of the inputs that were used to make the outputs you sold. For example, let's say that you purchase or grow red, orange, and yellow peppers. Then you pack those peppers into packages of rainbow peppers. When you do this, you are likely going to have number 2 and garbage peppers left over. For each of these outputs, they need their own lot number for traceability purposes. Our PIX software keeps track of the fact that the rainbow peppers and other outputs came from a number of different inputs. If a customer calls with a problem, PIX has tracked all the information you need, quickly and easily identify the customers who receive the peppers affiliated with the problem. As well, you would be able to notify the appropriate vendors or growers of the problem lots. Keeping track of all the inputs and outputs without using a computer system would be virtually impossible. In today's webinar, you will hear about different solutions for traceability. As traceability requirements change, produce businesses need to be ready to react to changing customer, industry, and government regulations. In our view, the first step to traceability is recording the inventory transactions. You don't need a separate inventory and traceability systems to do this, you just need PIX. Here are some of the features of PIX software. We can get you up and running quickly and easily on a hosted server, which you can access from anywhere. Monthly subscriptions are also available. PIX software contains all the necessary modules to do everything I talked about in this presentation, plus we have several add-on modules which may be of benefit to you. Here's my contact information. I'm happy to set up a consultation and demo of PIX at any time. Thank you very much for listening to my presentation, and I'll throw this back to Michelle. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Charles. Very interesting. And we will throw now to Mike Anderson from iTrade Network. Thanks, Mike.
I'm going to go into game show mode today because I have a lot that I want to tell everybody about and only 5 minutes to do it, but I'm going to get this in. And what I want to talk about is something that not everybody knows about iTrade Network, which is that we have been in traceability for a very long time. And we have a fantastic solution to help you meet your traceability requirements. And I'm going to talk about 2 different aspects of it today. Number 1 is what we've been doing for 10 plus years, which is really around labeling, PTI case labeling, item level labeling. But I also want to spend time talking about where we're going in the future and the innovations that we're trying to put into place to make things easier, because what we've consistently heard from our customers on traceability is that if you're a grower, shipper, a packer, repacker, it's like you feel it's a cost, right? There's no value that's coming back to you. There's no benefit. So we've really focused a lot on making that simpler at iTrade Network. But to start out, I do want to first show you an idea of how easy it is to create labels within the iTraceFresh traceability platform. So what you're seeing now is an example of a harmonized PTI label that is created on iTraceFresh, and on the left side of the screen is my iPhone, because you don't necessarily need a computer. You can do this just off of a mobile device and downloading an app from Google Play or from the App Store. And if I open up iTraceFresh, number 1 is, it isn't always convenient where you are when you're harvesting. So if you're doing field pack especially, you might be in the middle of nowhere and not have a cell signal, not have a data signal. So iTraceFresh does work offline and just has a mobile sync capability to keep you up to date when you reconnect to the network. That's number 1. And then the labeling process itself is also very, very simple, very intuitive, whether you're creating a pallet label or a PTI label. And we're leveraging the capabilities inherent in your mobile devices to make this happen. So number 1 is you could give your harvest crew just maybe a pick sheet, right? And they can go ahead, open up the camera on their phone, scan product information, and load that in to create the 0-1 record, right, in the harmonized pallet label or the harmonized PTI label, number 1. Or you can just use smart lookup. So what lots am I in that have romaine lettuce? Select those. Do the same things for the other data you want to capture and share. So harvester is often there. If you're doing exporting or importing, a lot of times the exporter ID is important. But you just capture that simply by using your phone. Then you can create that PTI label that would go on your packaging. Now that's step 1, right? That's great. We have a label, but to have the record keeping requirements met for all the regulatory rules out there, you need the ability to translate that into data. So we've also been doing this a long time, either through integration or through another mobile app where you can scan a PTI label, scan a pallet label, associate it to a PO, and go about your business. But we want to make it easier. And where we're going there for innovating is what we're calling labelless trace. And labelless trace is leveraging some of the unique differentiators at iTrade Network. So for those of you that are familiar with us, you may know this already. For those of you that aren't, iTrade is the largest food and beverage supply chain network in the world. And we have customers that run the gamut. At every step in the perishable supply chain are on our network. And we're also part of regulatory boards and industry boards to stay abreast and keep ahead of what's going on in the industry. Because we know that and because we do that, we're able to leverage our knowledge about purchase orders across the entire supply chain to use a labelless approach to capturing traceability data. You can see here just some examples of the types of data records that we have available natively in our platform. And with labelless trace, we're leveraging that as the starting point to create that traceability record, the record keeping portion of it. For an idea of how that works, right, if I use a grower shipper as an example, if you're selling asparagus and a purchase order comes in, as you fill it, you're defining as part of the PO process what the product is you're filling it with, what the pack style is, even what the G-tin is, how many are involved. With labelless trace, we give you the ability to just append whatever PTI data you want. So lot and harvest date are very common. And of course, we know where it's shipping from, where it's shipping to, and even any intermediate steps, cross-dock, value add, appeal coatings, whatever those might be. So with labelless, we're capturing that data and feeding it into our traceability engine. But the other thing that has to happen is, in order to make that meaningful, we need to give people the ability to do recalls with a scalpel and not with a threshing machine or a chainsaw. And that's where our command and control for food safety incidents capability come into play. Number one is it is a machine learning engine that's sitting on top of all the trading activity on the iTrade network, those 8,000 plus customers, feeding in the inputs from the regulatory agencies, feeding in voluntary recalls from our customers. That's actually going into a risk assessment module that will give you visibility into where your product is, where it ended up through the supply chain, give your customers visibility into their susceptibility to any potential recall or outbreak, and then allow them to recall it very specifically and to protect you so that you don't just get pulled with the industry-wide recalls that we've seen in the past. That was a very quick look at iTraceFresh. My contact information is on the screen. We'd love to talk to you in a little bit more detail if there's other questions that you might have after the webinar. And Michelle, I'll toss it back to you.
Thank you very much, Mike. Very informative and quite a different approach. And for a different approach again, I'd like to invite Shubh Singh from Accu-Label to join us on screen. Shubh.
Hello. All right, so let's jump right in. So I'm here from Accu-Label to discuss how you can achieve item level traceability to elevate your food safety systems via our labeling technologies. So a little background on me, I lead business development for Accu-Label as well as electronic control systems. In addition to that, I serve as an associate member of the International Federation for Produce Standards. I work with the Standards Council of Canada, as well sit on the CPMA as well as PMA committees, all of which inform my opinions and decision making. So a little more about Accu-Label and Electronic. We are recognized as a world leader in sustainable fruit labeling technology. So it began in 1991 when Electronic Control Systems started up as an engineering design and development firm with a focus on automation solutions, proudly made in Canada. We're based in Lakeshore, Ontario. Fast forward to 2001, Accu-Label emerged as the sales, service, and distribution arm of the labeling system. And in 2008, we rolled out our second generation of our labeling technology, the Orbit G2 system, which comes complete with real-time print and apply, as well as print verification. And present day, 2021, we have a network of global partners operating in North America, Europe, Asia, and Australia. Here's a quick snapshot of what that looks like. And I'd like to orient you all to thinking about the difference between traceability versus transparency. So on the left, we have a lantern. We could think of that similar to traceability in that that lantern, when it shines upon a certain area in a dark room, it will illuminate whatever it's looking at. So in a similar manner, your traceability system, when you're talking about a recall or some type of issue, you're going to narrow in on that specific area, whether it's a one up or one down, to try to identify what's been impacted, what's happening. Versus to the right, that's more of a transparency traceability system in that a light switch illuminates an entire room. So it doesn't matter which direction you're looking in. It doesn't matter which area of your supply chain you're talking about. Transparency enables complete visibility. So this is an important topic to think about when you're looking at your protocols and systems, and how you can move from traceability into more transparency where and when it's relevant. So what is our solution? Well, we are the creators of the Orbit G2, which again has tons of patents on it. We have our patented bellow design, our waistliner rewind, but most importantly, we have our inkjet technology. So we use inkjet rather than direct thermal, complete with print verification. So you're able to dynamically, in real time, print item level traceability information directly on the label. That can include pack date, lot code, grower ID, and that's in addition to the mandated traceability information such as your GTID, country of origin, and PLU. And just to mention, all of this is happening while you're using a paper label, which is more sustainable rather than a plastic label. So here is a quick case study for you all on one of our customers, New York Apple Sales. This is item level traceability in action. So New York Apple Sales has a pretty massive network, both from the supply side and the demand side. So from supply side, they have 55,000 acres of apple orchards with 30 million bushels annually. And in terms of growers, they've got 12 domestic and 2 international growers. And again, in terms of importing and exporting, it's happening all throughout the world. So as you can imagine, quite complex. However, using item level traceability, they were able to narrow in on specific products. You know, if there is a recall in that instance, they're able to narrow down to specific growers and specific orchards, which makes them more tactile, agile to make better decisions, really mitigate any losses, mitigate any consumer-facing risks, which strengthens their overall supply chain. So in terms of our solution, again, whether you're a larger packer, distributor, marketer of produce, or a farmer, we have our over-the-top system that goes right on top of your grading lines, sorting lines. We label at speeds of up to 900 cups per minute with application rates of 99%. If you're looking at labeling in an actual tray, we have our Flex TL, as well as our Eco TLXY. So depending on what type of configuration, this machine can dynamically adjust for different size trays, both height as well as orientation of products inside. We have tons of capabilities in machine vision, so we're able to identify fruits from one another. And again, with the real-time printing, you can switch the PLU number on the fly, which really speeds up efficiencies in your pack house. And it's worth mentioning that our first product, it was a TOV, tomato on the vine, labeling system that again was able to, using machine vision, identify the tomato from the calyx and target that fruit's body rather than the vines. We also have our labeling stations, which come standard in 2 or 4 lanes, but you can go custom up to 12. If you're looking for lower volumes, potentially, we have the tabletop printer, which again, you can achieve that print and apply for different PLU labels, thereby reducing your amount of pre-printed labels and giving you more ability to adjust as you need. And we've got our hand labelers too. So again, it doesn't matter whether you're talking about lower volumes or higher volumes, we have tons of solutions. You know, we'd love to talk to you, whether you're looking to label and elevate your food safety and traceability systems with item level traceability. So here's my contact information. Would love to speak to you further. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minos. A very different approach again. So, and I'd like to now welcome our 4th speaker, Minos Athanassiadis from iFoodDS. Minos, I'll let you take the floor.
Thank you, and good afternoon. Michelle, I appreciate the introduction, and thank you all for joining our webinar. By way of introduction, for the first part of my career, I was a leafy green grower and processor, first with Dole Fresh Vegetables and then with my own farm on the central coast of California. I had the privilege of working closely with Loblaws and Sobeys, as well as with a number of produce distributors in Western Canada, helping to popularize items such as mixed baby lettuce salads, gold beets, and super sweet varieties of corn. During the second part of my career, I've worked with technology companies to help them focus their portfolio to the needs of the fresh fruit and vegetable industry. So I come from the perspective of a grower, packer, shipper, trying to implement the technology in the most efficient, most cost-effective way. My company, iFoodDS, also has deep roots in the produce industry, being one of the first companies to respond to the spinach food safety crisis of 2006. We work across the entire fresh food supply chain with hundreds of customers worldwide, tracing billions of products each year. We're focused on three primary areas: food safety, quality management, and traceability across the supply chain all the way to the consumer. We also work closely with both global and regional grocery retailers, such as Ahold, Aldi, and Meijer in the Midwestern United States, and food service distributors like US Foods to help them manage the quality of their incoming product and to provide consistency across distribution centers and among individual inspectors. We help our customers digitize their food safety records so they can rely less on paper and Excel spreadsheets and, of course, annual audit reports. Along with our state-of-the-art traceability, this means that for the first time, we're linking real-time food safety information, not annual or quarterly audits, with every case going out the door. And Rochelle, actually, you can take the slide off, and I'd just like to talk to our audience. Thank you. HarvestMark has been closely involved with the Produce Traceability Initiative and the work of the Canadian Produce Marketing Association since the inception more than 10 years ago, when the one up, one back standard was established. We helped to author many of the PTI guidelines and specifications, including the invention and the inclusion of the voice pick code as an alternative means of lot level tracking to individual stores without retailers having to scan cases. Rather than go too deep into our platform's capabilities, we should talk about what we mean by traceability, because if you ask them, most self-respecting growers, shippers, and processors will tell you they have good PTI standard, one up, one back, lot level traceability. However, these standard traceability offerings create data silos at every step of the supply chain. The grower, the processor, the wholesaler, the retailer, sometimes more than 5 silos. And it's great internal traceability, but it's not global supply chain traceability. So now, 10 years after the Produce Traceability Initiative was established, is that standard good enough? When you look at how other industries digitally track the movement of planes, ride sharing, and delivery of packaged goods, it's clear that we must explore and adopt these types of technologies, which can actually improve the tracking when it comes to food. In summary, iFoodDS provides a platform for case labeling to enable traceback, pallet shipment tracking with advanced ship notices to enable trace forward, all hosted in the cloud for instantaneous trace across the entire supply chain, that for transparency, as Shubh called it, across the supply chain. We can help you lower your inventory management costs. We can help you improve your relationship with your receivers. And by the way, we're also working closely with grocery retailers to make most of our industry's investment in the Produce Traceability Initiative to track cases to the distribution center and on to the store level. At the end of the day, it's not about the technology. It's really about public health, consumer confidence in our product, and the business problem we're trying to solve. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Minos. And that's a great segue into our question that we have. Can I ask all of the panelists to join us on screen now, please? If you could turn on your videos and your mics. One more, Shubh. We still have him. Okay, there we are. Great. So we just have a few moments left. So, and I might just take a couple of extra minutes of our audience's time, because we do. One of the interesting questions that came up was around implementing traceability programs can seem like an expensive, time-consuming exercise just for the sake of regulations. And Minos spoke to this a little. Is there, in fact, a tangible return on investment for traceability? If you're trying to sell it into management, or you're trying to, justify the cost to your business, what is that intangible return on investment? Mike, can I ask you to perhaps start us off on that?
Yeah, we went alphabetical by last name, and I just beat out Minos. No, absolutely. I mean, there are tangible returns in terms of, kind of your brand protection, your ability to differentiate. You've heard a lot of different types of solutions today, but if you're talking about item level traceability, you also have the ability to market and talk directly to your customers. There are a lot of tangible benefits, and I'd actually like to add one more as well, because one of the things that I've consistently heard, and that has frustrated me personally, is that I think there's skepticism in the grower and the supplier community about how meaningful this data can be. And I put that in terms of a time horizon. Like, when you have a conversation about how long it will be before we can do really precise recalls, and that consumers aren't just afraid of everything on the shelf. If there is a recall for romaine lettuce and it's California lettuce, they're just not gonna buy anything. And what I've always heard from the supplier community is that they feel it's decades out to be able to actually do anything precise. And that, to me, is one of the big ones. This is a data challenge. And data challenges are what we solve now every day in the world, and what we solve specifically as the companies that are on this webcast today. And we can do that a lot faster, and that's going to protect you brand-wise, but also protect you product-wise, from being caught up in the fire sale recalls in the future. So there's a lot of benefits to doing this, and doing it right, and doing it well.
Right. Does anyone have anything to add to that, Mike's comments on that question?
Well, sorry, go ahead, Charles. No, go ahead.
I was going to say, limiting the cost of a recall is a big one too in that area. Up till now, I shouldn't say up till now, in the past, when there was a certain problem with a product, as Mike alluded to, a lot of people in the chain of that product would just pull all of it. And that's a huge amount of food waste. So with proper traceability, we can now limit it to just the lot that has a problem.
That was going to be my point as well. We can be very dramatic and say, what is your brand worth in terms of an ROI if there is a recall? The reality is that most grower packer shippers don't think that way, and they say, I take good care of my product, it's never going to happen to me. So the real issue is, do you want to, the value is, how far along the supply chain do you want to keep track of your inventory? And I think the answer ought to be is all the way to the consumer. And by using a traceability system, such as the ones that we spoke about today, you can actually initiate a conversation all the way with your consumer. And of course, with your immediate customer, the grocery retailer or food service distributor.
Yeah, just a few points to add. I agree with all of you, but there's definitely value to be realized, both from a strategic point of view, whether that's orienting your company culture around a culture of promoting traceability, putting food safety at the forefront, That's one element. There's operational benefits, again, in terms of efficiencies, as well as effectiveness into selling into specific supply chains that might not be available to you at this point in time. And again, there's financial benefits as well. As I mentioned, if you are going above and beyond, taking all of these benefits that traceability can give you, then you'll be able to broaden your scope in terms of the type of retailers you can sell to. And again, consumers are becoming more savvy. Everything is just a click and connect type of interaction now. So as consumers look to make better decisions, they're gonna make votes with their dollars and support brands that they believe in, that they see are doing things ethically, morally, are minimizing impact on the environment. These are all bigger topics and areas of focus that are just increasingly aware across the board. So I think traceability really does put that magnifying glass on the small decisions you make, but really it's the small things that determine the big things.
Those are all great points, and I think that the concept of the consumer has a lot more choice now than they ever had, and the retailers and the buyers do as well. And so we need to be mindful of that. And if the reputation, it might not just be your brand, Mike, to your point, it might be all of California Remain gets tarnished with the one brush. And so, we need to be, be responsible for taking care of the brand of, say, Ontario spinach, for example. How do we make sure that we keep that our Canadian public's trust in that product, and traceability is key to that. So that's all we have time for today, unfortunately. So thank you all so much for joining us. It was great to have such a variety of approaches to traceability here today, and I'm sure our members found it valuable. Thank you to everyone that joined us. Great to have everyone on the line. The session was recorded and will be available to OPMA members via our website, along with part 1 of our traceability series. So please do stay involved and up to date by following us through our social media accounts and checking out our website. And we hope to see you again at our next speaker series. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Michelle. Thanks, panel.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for having us,
Bye-bye.
Michelle.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye now.